probably like a millisecond
1?
before. So
2. Oh,
4.
God.
There you go. It's fine if there's audio.
That's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's already getting off
Like
to a
there's
good start. I'm okay with this. This is great.
there's a countdown, but then it was like, wait, what? What's going on? That we're supposed to do 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's okay.
Exactly. All right.
Separate audio tracks.
Yeah, rip.
It's perfect.
End credit scenes. Oh, that'd be
Exactly.
pretty. Actually,
we
you
can
know
have
what?
we can have an outtakes. We can have an outtakes. Rip roaring
No,
good
you see,
with hilarious
end-
bonus features if you're patrons on Patreon. Okay.
No, when it hits the end part, when it's like, okay, see you guys later, and then it cuts to there's like a little bit of music in the background, and there's that discussion where we're like, well, we thought we were going to say 1, 2, 3, 4.
Exactly, Hunter. See, you're already, the podcasting game. It's all good. Hello and welcome to the Lobby Talk podcast. The date is December 11th, 2016. I'm your host, Aaron.
I'm Danan.
I am a hunter.
I'm Carter.
So in this podcast, we're just going to be talking about games and video games for the most part. Yeah, so let's just jump right into it. How you guys been doing?
Do pretty good.
Getting back into Rocket League.
Oh,
I
damn.
got French toast.
I'm like pretty bad at them, to be honest.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, Rocket League is pretty interesting. So, you guys have been playing a lot. So, like, I know you
I only
guys
play a little
sort of,
bit.
Has it changed a lot? Because when I played it, it was pretty rudimentary. It was just like, I think there was like one map. And
There's like this game mode. It's called Rumble,
Oh my God.
and it's like the best game mode in the game, where you get like power ups every 10 seconds, and they like freeze the ball. You can like turn into a tornado and whip cars around. Oh, it's so good. You can like kick cars with a big boot.
wow,
So
that
good.
actually sounds
Big boots, hey.
that actually sounds really
Wow.
fun.
I didn't know
So,
about that.
and Hunter, you've been playing Rocket League for a long time. So,
I could say
how do you like that game mode? Like, I think, wait, what rank are you?
over the time and hours that I've spent in this game, I've found out that it is very quality game. After
Right.
achieving 500-hour mark
Oh my
and
God.
playing for quite a bit and almost buying every DLC, it's pretty great. I don't play Rumble. Rumble's pretty okay, but it's not like
What?
it's for a
casuals.
party. It's like it's a
Right, I
casual
feel like Rumble
game mode where
appeals
you're
to
having
the
fun with
people-
your friends and pals.
Yeah.
You're making them pissed off because you freeze the ball in the air, and it's right before it's the goal, and then they save it, and it's like, spicy. But
Nice.
yeah, getting into the rank below all-star, it's pretty fun. Once you get them to the higher tiers, it gets pretty intense when everyone's flying around and hitting balls and stuff. But
Those aerials.
those aerials, man. And then you always have to be able to hit the ball in the higher tier games, like you can't miss. And it's pretty insane. Pretty good, high quality game. One of my favorite games of the year. To be TBH.
Is it game of the year? Because we can talk about that in a little bit. Because what it seems like is Rumble is sort of like it's almost appealing to a casual mindset
It appeals to the Mario Kart gamer, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a lot of unfair aspects to that game mode, and I'm wondering if that's going to bring in any new players because of that update. Because I think Rocket League, especially now, has kind of gotten a lot of people get pretty hardcore, and they're really into it. I know you are, Hunter, and it can be a little daunting for a newer or new player.
It is
to get into it.
It is pretty fun though, getting right into it, because you definitely see a skill increase once you reach 500 hours. From going from 0 to 100 and just all that good stuff. But recently, the new update for Rocket League, when you're going into regular 2v2s and you're not going into labs, you're gonna get placed into labs maps sometimes, and they have a new dislike and like ratio thing where you say I dislike this map, but you can't dislike all of the lab maps, which drives me insane. So I have to play those lab maps, even though that was supposed to be a different thing for people to play was labs. So they click on labs and they play labs, because labs aren't in ranked matches, but now they just kind of combined it into 2v2s. So now everyone's leaving once a lab map comes, and then we try to research for a game to get the regular maps that are in ranked, which is really unfortunate.
Okay, so I guess you don't like all the so if I'm understanding it right, there's like and so what's purpose exactly do the lab maps serve?
They're just wacky, over the top. Like, there's 2 ways to make a goal now. There's 2 sides to a goal. A triangle goal. There's giant walls in the center. They look really cool, but they're just not meta. You can't practice for ranked playing labs.
I see. So it's a lot more casual, I suppose, and a lot more just let's just hang around and have fun.
A party platform game almost.
Interesting. Wow. So yeah, I mean, it definitely. So with Rocket League, and especially how I think it seems like it's really easy at first, and even when you're lower tier, it definitely feels like, oh, I can just jump in and I'm making goals, and this is a really simple game. But when you you have like 500+ hours,
but it's really weird.
There's a lot more depth.
Yeah,
because once you're going in at a certain level, when you start the game, and you're facing players who just start the game as well. You're both on the same tier, so you're both combating each other. So it's kind of like you're always fighting the whole way up, because you're getting the same skill level as you when you start. So you guys are both going head to head at the same skill level. So you might not hit the ball as well as the other guy, and the other guy might not hit the ball as well as you. But that's kind of the combating situation there, where you're always fighting the whole way up, the whole ranking system.
That's really cool. So it's kind of it's almost like it's just you're never safe. You're always challenging yourself, and you're always trying
pushing
to
your limits.
That's really cool.
And you have the new training situations that they just came out with, custom training. And I mostly play the Psionics ones, where they're really hard, but it definitely improves your skill a lot.
Dang.
From redirecting balls on the cherry picker and other stuff like that. Advanced goaltending, because that's my main thing, is goaltending. And it's just definitely, I've seen an improvement when I play those, and it's very fun. It's actually a lot of fun to play the custom trainings and trying to get the highest percentage possible.
And with those custom trainings, is it like you making a custom custom map almost with like custom rules, or is it how does that work exactly?
It's formative to a map, so they'll make a situation where a ball is traveling so fast, however fast they want it, towards any direction they want, and they'll say, "Hey, you're supposed to make this in the goal, or you're supposed to save it." And so the ball will be coming at an angle that they choose, and they'll place you in a spot where they want you to be, and then you'd have to go save that ball or put it in in a limited time that they give you.
Oh, okay, I get it. So it's sort of just it's like time trials, and it's kind of just something to sort of, I guess, warm up and practice with. Okay, that makes sense.
Oh yeah,
so
definitely. It's pretty
Danan,
cool.
you've gotten back into Rocket League, and how many hours do you have?
I have 31 hours, I believe, and
right.
I feel like I definitely look at the game like completely differently than how like Hunter would look at the game, because like when I see a ball just like heading towards the enemy goal, I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna chase after that, be as aggressive as possible, and just hit that ball. But like I see Hunter play, and he's like very patient, and like sometimes if the ball's close to the goal, you don't always want to go after. You might want to like stay back a little bit, but like I don't know, I just can't think like that. I just like immediately go after that ball, and I want to hit it into the goal like as fast as possible.
I mean, I feel like I'm exactly the same in like a MOBA, where I'm like way too aggressive, and I'll go in and I'll be like, oh, I can get a kill, and then I die. So I mean, I could definitely see how that's actually a nice comparison, because 30 hours you've invested some time, but like 500 is quite a lot more. And
like I know the problem outside of the game, but when you're in the match and you're like playing, you're like, all right, let's go. Like I completely lose like, oh man, I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I do it anyways. Like I forget about
right.
That.
Yeah, that's your high tier versus your semi a little bit lower tier gaming, is that you see the person coming in hot, so you know where the ball's going to go when they hit it. So you just kind of walk in front of them and hit it out of the way.
Yeah, that's kind of
you kind of use your player against themselves. You use their movements against them.
Yeah.
which is definitely a big deal in the Rocket League community right now. When you're in higher tier games, is someone's going up for the aerial, so you go up to take down that aerial or deny the hit, and it's pretty intense. It gets very intense.
Seems like it can get a little heated. And how big is the player base for Rocket League?
100. I think I actually saw 125,000 over consoles and computer.
Wow, that's a lot.
I think so.
And the new update with Rumble and all that.
And
what update is that? Like 1.1 or?
I actually don't know the number range.
How many updates have they had since release? Like this seems like the most major update since release.
Yeah, it's been quite a big deal, but they just do kind of small updates. But this one's been kind of bigger, adding the custom stuff.
Yeah,
but the workshop, even though they don't have any maps yet, unfortunately, but they have maps in the modded community, but they haven't moved them over to the workshop yet. I don't think if that's what they're doing, because they're basically just aerial training and stuff like that, which is really cool. I wish I could just get them in the workshop. But I'm going to have to wait until that happens.
Right now on Steam, there is 70,041 people playing Rocket League. Just on Steam.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. They're just on Steam. And like, that's right now.
Right now.
Right?
As of right now.
That's insane. Rocket League definitely was a success, and I don't think a lot of people saw like how big it was actually going to be.
It's just a whole different process, like a different game that no one really thinks about. They have your main FPS MOBA stuff, and then they have Rocket League, which is just a totally different platform where you have soccer combined with rocket cars, and it's just no one would have thought about it except them, and they just totally pushed it in. I mean, I think there is another game that's sort of like it's sort of like Soccer Car, but it's just this one's pushed it out so hard. And the game quality is really good, and it just looks amazing and plays amazing.
Yeah, Rocket League is actually the second game in the series of like these rocket cars. Their first one was rocket powered like battle cars, something like that.
Oh yeah,
PS3.
That was the one.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And now they've made this as a sequel, and it seemed to like take off far more than their other game did.
Mm-hmm. And it's beautiful. Maps are absolutely beautiful. Graphics are absolutely beautiful.
It's definitely a really nice looking game, and I wonder if, because I think you could also, a lot of people right after, they're like, what, they just did a soccer game with cars, but I think it's a little different because of how when I played, of how fast paced it is and how really it is. It's just go go go, and it's not like normal soccer at all. It's almost like a completely different genre in video games, because like most soccer video games aren't, I would say they don't really appeal to me, but Rocket League, with how much of a skill base there's, like you have to, if you want to succeed in those higher tier cups, and those higher tiers, I guess, you have to really be good, and you have to really, it's a lot of fast paced thinking on your feet. It seems like it's a really interesting, what they did was fairly brilliant, and I have to applaud them for that.
To also put it in scale, it's the third most played game on Steam right now, above Team Fortress 2, Gary's Mod, and Grand Theft Auto 5.
And Team Fortress 2 is free, and Gary's Mod has been around, and both Team Fortress 2 and Gary's Mod have been around for forever.
And both of those get played a ton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they have such a huge, and I also think when Rocket League adding Workshop, that's really smart, because
and their sale as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, but when they add Workshop, they'll be able to sort of, okay, we've added all this content. Now it's up to the community, and the community is going to make maps, and then they don't have to. It takes a little more pressure off them, because they're not going to constantly have to add new maps, and maybe they'll do what Team Fortress 2 did, which sometimes survived off of community involvement.
Yeah,
and that's going to be really interesting to see.
Community involvement can really push a game. It tightens the community more. It like brings them all together, and you kind of like, you put it into the game, and you're like, oh hey, look, I made that. Look at this. This is really cool. And then you like see it in the game, and all of a sudden you get all these people working together to like create something. It's really cool, like to see that in a game.
Oh,
yeah, I agree. 100%. I think that's a smart move, business move, and I think it just makes the game better for everyone. And I'm excited to see where Rocket League's going to go, even though I'm not as interested in Rocket League myself.
Oh, true.
Did any of you guys, Hunter? Did you follow the Rocket League World Cup?
A little bit. I kind of just watch the pros play and see what they do.
Right.
Just do the pro versus pro, and I watched like one championship, I think, but I don't know if it was that official. But yeah.
Do you remember the prize pool? Was for the top, like whoever won. What was the prize pool?
I think it was pretty big actually. I think it was like let's see here. Let's check it out. Rocket League prize pool.
Fact checks.
Oh, it's 55,000. It says Rocket League Season 1.
Wow, 55,000. I mean, that is, I think actually Shaquille O'Neal, right? He invested in an esports team.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
And I
he
believe
did.
his Rocket League team, they won. They won they won a game. I don't remember if it was the championship, but I think they won a. They're pretty high up there. I think it's Envious.
I think they got first in regionals, but I'm not sure about the national level winnings.
It's really interesting to see someone like Shaquille O'Neal invest. I mean, he invests in a lot of different things, but like how esports is, it's almost there where I feel like give it 5 more years and we'll be able to esports. You'll be able to turn on the TV and it won't just be on like because I mean we even now we've gotten esports games on like ESPN, like ESPN 2 or 3, but like it's on TV, and I feel like esports are moving in a direction where it's gonna be. I think we're gonna be watching them as much as sports, and we might have like an esports channel on TV. I mean, TV is sort of dying anyway, but like there's gonna be a point where esports is really gonna be a big moneymaker, and I mean, if you look at things like I mean Dota, it's like their prize pool for Dota was like what I think it was something in the millions, like 30 million. It was I don't think it was that big, but it was insane.
So much money.
Yeah. The people who got first place are millionaires now.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. Like once you get first place in Dota, it's almost as much as, not as much as winning the Super Bowl, but I mean, with sponsorships, and then basically you're set for a long time. I mean, I think if you do the math, if it's about a 6-player, maybe 7 people because you have your coach, and maybe if you have like an extra for a Dota team, and you're using that, and you each get about, like, let's say the prize pool, each get like, I don't know, $20 million. That's like $2 million a piece. It's pretty good money for video games, I guess. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see where esports goes in the future. And I think a lot more people are kind of looking to that. It's definitely an emerging industry, and it's an emerging marketplace where there's lots of money to be made, and it's going to be interesting because I know Korea and like South Korea, it's been pretty big over there for a long time. Like they've had esports on their TV, like StarCraft especially.
The players in esports in like South Korea and around there are like, they're treated like celebrities basically. They're so popular over there, and it's interesting to see the difference between like from there to over here is like, oh, you make money off of playing video games? What in the world? That's so weird. But like over there, it's like, yeah, like, I want your autograph. Like they go crazy over them.
Yeah,
it's so interesting to see the difference.
It's like football here versus it's like football here where they're like, oh, you're so awesome, and then gamers are like, eh. But then like over there, you got your gamers that are like, oh yeah, and then,
To also put it in scale, the size of esports now, the Milwaukee Bucks, a basketball team, also just purchased the Cloud9 League of Legends Championship Series slot.
Yeah, see, so I feel like you're gonna see a lot of conventional, I don't know, quote unquote conventional sports people, like getting into esports, or at least having. So you might have a dual team where you're like, oh, like here's it's just gonna be really interesting to see what happens, and there's gonna be sort of that I know a lot of teams are being bought out by people who own like baseball and football teams and basketball teams as well, and it's gonna be really interesting.
Mark Cuban is apparently super into esports, if I remember rightly, and
like the prize pools are just getting bigger and bigger for esports. Like the top 3 are all from Dota 2, and it went 10 million, then to 18 million, and now 20 million just recently.
Wow.
They are just, and a lot of that comes from like like crowdfunding. Like Dota does this thing where they have this little like booklet or something like that where you can like buy like pieces for like your character or like for players. They do something where like you can buy in-game stuff for like the players that are playing. And then it like just feeds into the prize pool, and then the prize pool just keeps getting bigger and bigger the more people pay. So it's like a really interesting idea to like fuel your prize pool with your player base.
Yeah, I wish more games would do what Dota did, because with the compendium, it's such a good idea, because it's like, oh, you get a bunch of cool stuff. You get like I forget what you get. It's like skins and a badge or something.
Yeah,
that might not be exactly what you get,
like
but you get some cool items, and you also know, oh, this is a game I really love, and I really want to support that esports, and the prize pool goes in there, which means all it does is it makes everything better. So I want to see places like Overwatch, and I want to see more games do that, where it's like, oh, buy this skin, and 50% of it's going to go to the prize pool for our esports tournament. I think that was a really smart move on Valve's part when they did that with Dota.
I feel that Dota, out of all the games, is definitely, they're really showing that they are a $2 million or they're $1 million prize pool game. Because they're, if you viewed their whole championship, just watching it, it just shouted out, wow, this is a big deal. They had, especially the character thing, hologram.
That was like insane. The production value was amazing. Like, it was great.
Yeah, I watched some, and the production value was they made it look really nice. Like,
could have been on TV.
Exactly. I was when I was watching the Dota International, I didn't watch all of it, but I watched part of it, and the production value was just like, it was insane, and I was like, wow, this gets me excited for the future of what things. I feel like we've had. I mean, Counter-Strike is sort of the same way as well. Like, it's Counter-Strike. I feel like Valve has really gotten into the esports scene, and they've really I think they have a formula, and they're using it, and they're following it, and it works really well for them as well.
Yeah, so. And we're growing so quick. Like, the esports scene is growing so fast, and like everybody's getting into it because it makes money, and so they know, okay, we're making a multiplayer game. We need to have esports somewhere. Sometimes this can get a little. Blizzard does this with like all their games, and it gets a little too much, but it makes money, and so it makes sense to like go for that and try and build an esports. Basically.
I definitely agree, because like when you see, Hearthstone, so competitive. I mean, I really like Hearthstone, and I actually like watching the esport. I do like watching Hearthstone esports, but it's always funny how they're like, I wonder what he's gonna play next. I'm like, well, he kind of has these cards in his hand, so he's gonna follow this exact formula. So a lot of the games, especially if they're just playing mostly meta decks, it can be a little boring until a new patch comes out, new expansion comes out. So, but yeah, I definitely sometimes I think Blizzard pushes esports a little too hard, like right off the bat. But I mean, again, it makes money, so I don't know if you can really blame them, because it makes a lot of money.
Very true. Overwatch is a game it caters a lot to the casual market, but they're trying to push so much esports onto it. It's kind of like, well, where do you want this to go? Do you want it to be more casual, or do you want it to be more esports? Like, they're trying to balance this weird, like Heroes of the Storm does the same thing, where it's like Smash Bros, like, but for a MOBA. But it's got this huge like esports scene that they're trying to push, and so far it doesn't seem like it's really making it anywhere. The Twitch numbers are pretty low for any of the championships.
Yeah, I especially with Heroes of the Storm. That's the one thing with Blizzard, because I feel like they want to have their cake and eat it too a lot of the times, because it's like, we've made this game, and it's fairly casual. It's usually very polished, and it looks nice, and it plays really great, like Overwatch or Heroes of the Storm. Heroes of the Storm is a super casual MOBA. Like, you literally don't have to try. Like, you can just your whole team can just go in one lane, and you can just push one lane, and you usually win, because that's just how it works. But then they try to push, like, this is the meta. These are the builds you have to use for your heroes. And it's like, no, I'm just gonna pick the most OP Thrall build I can, and then just Wind Fury, go in there and break all the towers, because Thralls used to be OP. But I feel like that's one thing that kind of annoys me a lot with Overwatch, is usually, because I don't care a whole lot about competitive. Like, that's just not me. Mostly because I'm not very, like, I'm not that good.
Or you have good internet.
And exactly. But one thing that annoys me is it's almost like, oh, here's this game that is easy to jump into, but then there's a lot of people who are like, you can't play this hero, 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 because they're not in the meta. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like bronze tier, so we're not in the meta, so please stop. I don't know. I feel like I get a little annoyed when it's like,
yeah,
you should always play to the meta, and it's like, to me, that for the most part, just because I'm not that kind of player, it can get a little frustrating when there's a game like Overwatch and I'm not in like Master or Grandmaster, and people are like,
yeah,
gotta play to the meta, and like, but I want to play McCree right now, you know. I don't know.
You definitely run that risk when you try to push esports onto a game that you can just completely alienate one of your other like audience, like your casual audience. And I think that's what Blizzard is trying not to do. They're really trying to keep hold of that casual, like with the arcade and stuff like that they've put in, and they're like trying to tune up quick play some more. And that's something that was like, they were so adamant about having quick play be like, no, you can have as many heroes as you want. You can do any kind of comp you want. Be crazy. That's what quick play's for. But then they took that away. They made it more like competitive, and then shoved off the casuals to like the arcade part. And so like they switched up their mindset. They're like, no, okay, actually, yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. We'll do that for you guys. Make it more competitive. And I don't know. I feel like they can't make up their mind.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there was a fear that they were going to split their player base when they did that. And I don't know if they exactly did, but for the most part, I feel like now there's two sides to Overwatch, where you have the super competitive people who are really into it, and they do really well, and they're top players. And then there's sort of those people who don't really care, I guess, and they're kind of, they kind of split in their player base in half, which, what was it? I think it's something like 6 million, or right? For their
I don't know about specifically like PC or Xbox or how many each one, but they've sold 20 million copies.
So that if they sold 20 million copies, that's safe to say that, I mean, let's say 10 million went to PC, right? And then I know on console it's a lot more casual as well. Like there's not as much of an emphasis on like
on character choice.
They have separate balancing too for
on balancing. Yeah, and balancing is completely different on console because like Torbjorn is a little more overpowered on there. But let's say like 10 million went to PC, and then you split down the middle, like 5 million go to competitive, and then another 5 million go to like the no limits, quick play, all that other stuff, where you can have like multiple heroes and other stuff like that. I feel like it's almost like Blizzard. Yeah, it's almost like there's two different people in Blizzard, and they don't really know what they want.
Yeah.
Where one of them's like, hey, we're gonna go super competitive, and we're going to make this a like an esport that's in the industry, and that really is, you know, that's kind of like a respected, I don't know if I'm being clear, but like a respected piece to like esports, and like we want to be taken seriously. But then there's this other part where it's like, okay, we're gonna split, and we're just gonna, you know, put all these people who don't really care about it. Let's just put them, you know, give them 1v1 and I don't know, no limits, which is it's interesting. It's interesting to see that sort of.
It's like two people arguing, and they just like, okay, we'll settle for this one, and then they just
exactly
put it in there.
I think it was okay choice because we have the quick play where you can play, but you can't play multiple of the same character because the arcade kind of setting is where you can kind of rest because having multiple of the same character is arcadic, and having that quick play where you kind of just play kind of like rank style, but not fully ranked, is nice for practice for rank and just to play the regular game itself, which is kind of a wombo combo there. But having that other choice in arcade for people that want to play multiple of the same character and stuff like that is good for them, because on my part, I feel like having multiple of the same character is terrible, and I hate it so much because it doesn't give me any practice for when I want to play ranked and learning how to take down certain things, because if you have multiple of the same character, that's not going to happen to you when you're playing ranked going for gold guns. But yeah.
Right. I mean, sorry, Dan. No,
I was saying, I still feel like they're sending mixed messages, like what I was talking about, quick play. So they made arcade, and they're like, okay, go over there. But quick play is still there, and it has this. It doesn't have quite the competitive rule set, but still has this. Okay, you can't have two of the same hero. So now people go into quick play, and they think, oh, I'm gonna pick non-meta picks, and then people get angry because they're like, okay, well, what do you? No, don't pick Hanzo, don't pick Widowmaker, don't do that. You got to play in the meta. But then they're like, well, but I just want to have a casual game. And they're like, well, there's a reason you can't pick multiple characters, right? So then there's that idea where, okay, we're more competitive. But then there's quick play where it's not a ranked rule set, so you can just play casually. But then you have two people going into quick play with two different mindsets, and they want to do two different things, and then they just get angry at each other because they can't do what they want.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I mean, I also agree. Like, I don't hate the competitive aspect to Overwatch, and like, it depends on what mood I'm in. And I'm sure if I really sunk a lot of time, I might want to get into competitive. But yeah, with the quick play, it's like almost like they made it to where you have to be super casual, like you have to not care at all, like by doing when they put no limits in there. And it's just like, okay, you can just play team of 6 Torbjorns, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, but quick play, now quick play and competitive are pretty much the same, but you can I almost don't understand quick play because it doesn't even follow the same rule set as competitive,
but it still has the
but it still has you can't pick 2 heroes. And I feel like, because I would almost play quick play, because I agree that it can be frustrating when you get a team and there's 3 Widowmakers, and if you want to, like, okay, I want to win games, but I don't want to necessarily play competitive.
Yeah. And
so I guess that's what they were trying to go for with quick play, and I kind of agree with that as well, but I wonder if there's a bit of an I feel like they might be trying to do too much of both, almost.
Mm-hmm. There's an overlap of 2 mindsets that are going into quick play, and neither of them are making each other happy with what they're picking.
Exactly. And while I necessarily don't, I agree with it can get frustrating when people pick like multiple of a character. In quick play, I feel like it's not the same as competitive, and so even then I'm like, well, it's just quick play. I don't really care about winning. But then, like you were saying, Danan, where it's like people can get pretty intense about it, and it's almost like, well, why don't you just go play competitive? I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, later on down the line. I feel like Blizzard is still revising, and fixing
Overwatch
things.
Is still in its first year, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how that evolves and changes.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, definitely cool. Definitely a really good game.
Yeah, I love Overwatch. I've had so much fun with it. I mean, it's a great experience to play with friends and stuff. I'm just interested, I guess, to see where it's going.
Yeah, we'll see what Blizzard does with their game.
Mm-hmm. So what was your go-to game of the year for you, Danan? What were you thinking about this whole year?
Overwatch, probably.
Oh yeah, some Overwatch. I mean, it did get game of the year. I mean,
yeah, that's true. At the
thanks
Game Awards,
memes.
It was given Game of the Year.
Oh yeah. Do you want to talk about the Game Awards a little bit?
Yeah, we might as well.
Or should I say the Cringe Awards? Whoa, no.
Hey, they
Chick Hydro back at it again.
I mean,
they had the Doom music thing was like really good, and then the rest was just garbage.
Oh man, the rapper, dude! Wow, that's so good. Wow.
Yeah, I see the Game Awards. I was reading an article. I forgot what it was, but on what website? But the Game Awards, it felt like, because the Game Awards, if I recall right, it was trying to get away from what it used to be, where it was just completely paid sponsorships everywhere and all this other stuff. And basically, it became the thing it was trying to get away from.
What
Hydro?
You can't really
the shtick Hydro.
Oh
maybe that's gonna be the thumbnail for the video. Just that
nice
so
Gundam.
Awkward. It was just so cringy.
Yeah,
I did.
It did, like they tried to be like, oh look, we understand the gamers. Look at this Mortal Kombat kind of style ad. And it just kind of came off as like
forced.
Oh, you're so corporate. You don't understand.
Yeah. I pictured like a bunch of 50-year-old guys who are like, what are the kids into these days? Okay,
we're
gonna get a bunch of people. Oh yeah, they like the rappers, and let's we're trying to sell them a razor. I don't understand why they
because I think we're all neck-bearded nerds in the basement.
I don't know. Yeah, it's like what? So
doesn't appeal to
I
the
guess
girl
I'm gonna put my
gamer
fedora
audience.
on and like grow up my. I guess I'm gonna shave my neck beard now. I don't know. It just seemed really. I think cringy is actually the right word to use because it was just like,
Yeah,
I did not. I mean, not all of it was bad. Like I liked some of it. I really liked the Doom music.
I felt like they played a lot of favoritism towards like Uncharted. It was like in every category that was like there,
Yeah.
and it felt a little weird just seeing that come up every single time. It's like,
But it's one of those
has anybody
games.
actually- oh.
It's one of those games. It's kind of just like it has it all. It's just a good
I
game.
haven't played it, but it does look really good. I haven't heard any like the voice acting or anything, so I can't really comment on that. But it looks good.
Has anyone played
Looks
Uncharted?
amazing.
I played the first one.
Because I haven't played any of the Uncharted
I've played
games.
2, and 2 was absolutely amazing.
They're
Carter,
very.
have you played? Have you played any of the Uncharted games?
I have played Uncharted 2, some of Uncharted 3, some of Uncharted 1. Uncharted
Okay.
I think
Uncharted 2 I played full. I played the entire game of that one.
That was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the
Yeah.
one where there's the ice monster that chases you? Or is that Uncharted 3? I remember playing a level of Uncharted
2.
where there's like you're in an ice place, and there's like an ice monster trying to kill you.
I don't remember the ice monster. It could have.
I remember a
Maybe
monster,
I'm
but I don't know if
thinking-
it was an ice monster.
I immediately thought of Crash Bandicoot when you said that.
I don't think it was that. I mean, the
Oh, the
graphics,
remake, yeah.
Yeah.
There is a
Oh,
remake.
yeah.
Crash
Uh,
Bandicoot full
ooh.
remaster too. That's like amazing. It
Ooh.
looks so good, like visually.
It looks good, but I missed the old polygon style Crash.
They could make it like the Master Chief Collection and have the button that switches it.
That would be cool. That's a cool feature that I think more
Mm.
games should put in.
That'd be
Like-
coolio.
Gears of War 1 was like the remaster that they made of that. Didn't have that button. I was like, man, it'd be so cool to see what this looked like. Like, just to go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's super good. That's a cool, very, very cool thing to do.
They had
Flashbacks.
at the
Yeah.
Game Awards, we had a new Death Stranding, like, trailer
everyone's
thing,
hyped.
cinematic teaser. I
I
guess.
actually
Yeah.
wasn't able to watch that one because I wasn't here because I was at work.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I
It's
forgot about that.
It's more like just confusing Kojima stuff, basically.
I feel like what Sony did is because Konami didn't really let him do anything, and he had some creative control, but like he didn't.
Wasn't able to take
He was
over.
sort of throttled a lot because they were kind of
Yeah.
it's Konami and they're kind of the worst.
Yes.
And I feel like this was Sony just saying, "Hey, you can make whatever. Just we'll give you money, and we have enough faith in you." I feel like this is actually just Kojima, and there's like no boardroom. It's just like this is like back in the old days where it's one guy who's making a video game with his team, and I feel like he's doing whatever he wants, and this is the game he's probably always wanted to make.
Yeah.
And to me, that's really cool, and I'm really excited to see. I mean, it could be terrible, like it could be an awful game, but there's going to be I don't feel like there's hardly any corporate meddling or any of that. So I feel like we're going to get like as close to his ultimate vision of what he's always wanted to do as possible, which is going to be which is really interesting will be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Is it?
Mhm.
No.
Well,
Could,
what you can like Kojima has such a big like he's such a
Following.
big figure in like game development and stuff, like the engine that Death Stranding is running on and like what the cinematics run on. The guys who like developed Killzone, they're developing Horizon Zero Dawn, that new game that's coming out. The engine that they
good
use,
game.
they were like, "Hey Kojima, you need like an engine to use. Here you go, just use ours." And they just like kind of gave it to him, and that's like you don't like ever see that in the game industry, and like unless you're like Unreal or Unity, like that's the only time that'll ever happen.
right.
Like it's so weird to see like a company just be like, we put all this time into this engine. Here you go use it, Kojima. You're like such a good like. That just shows how big of a developer he is in the gaming, like not just for fans, but as like game developers. Like what? they
Yeah.
think.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something I wish they had touched on a little bit more in the during the Game Awards, because I feel like basically all they talked about was how he was wronged by Konami, but like they could have talked a little bit about like all the things he's given to how
Yeah.
important he really is to the games industry, because he's done a lot, and I think a lot of companies like respect him, which is really interesting. I didn't even know that's what happened with the Death Stranding engine.
Yeah.
So they just gave it to him, and they're not going to see any profit from that, right?
Yeah.
Like
It's kind of
probably not. Yeah.
Yeah, probably not. That's like, I don't know. It kind of shows how big of a developer
Oh
he is.
yeah. And
Yeah,
plus
that's-
his memes he puts on his Twitter.
Yeah, his Twitter is pretty fascinating to watch.
He's a very charismatic guy, I guess.
Yeah.
Just,
He knows
Definitely.
he knows the community.
he makes
Mhm.
waves where he goes. And
He has
talks.
the same humor as the community.
Yeah, he does.
definitely.
And
Knows his
then-
stuff.
Him and his Norman Reedus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Norman
And they also announced at PSX, we saw, oh god, I'm gonna mispronounce. It's like Guillermo del Toro.
Oh yeah,
They-
he's the guy that Pacific Rim, director of Pacific Rim.
Rim.
I love
He's
Pacific Rim. A lot of people hate that movie. I absolutely
Yeah.
love that movie.
I
Good
do.
I
movie.
love
It's
robots
great.
and monsters, and it's not like a Transformers movie. This isn't a movie podcast, but
It's a
He's a
Gundam,
great- he's a
it's
great
Gundam
director.
movie.
he is a
Yeah.
good director. And so what Kojima had announced at PSX is that they're not going to use Del Toro as like, they're not going to mocap him, or they're not going to use him as a voice actor. Like somebody else is going to play Del Toro in the game. They just kind of scanned his body and they're using his image.
Huh.
Interesting.
Interesting.
that is
Yeah.
really interesting because
Because he's got to
Oh.
work on other projects.
that makes sense. Pacific Rim too. Yeah, I'm excited.
Civic. It's supposed to have a 2, 3, and 4.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty
Wait,
insane.
Death Stranding or Pacific Rim?
Pacific Rim.
Oh,
The
dang.
guy said it. He's like, yeah, we're supposed to have like a 2, 3, and 4 or something
That's
like
gonna
that.
be great.
That'd
That's
be
gonna be
amazing.
great.
This is gonna be amazing because that's gonna be a lot of time.
Yeah, lots of robots punching monsters. I'm excited. I'm down for that
Yeah.
that sort of movie.
That sounds
Mhm.
fantastic.
Can't wait to go see it in theaters.
Right.
Speaking of big monsters, the Mass Effect Andromeda gameplay that
Uh-huh.
was shown at the Game Awards.
Fantastic segue.
Thanks. Some pretty big monsters in there.
Yeah, Mass Effect Andromeda. Yeah.
The
Robos.
gameplay that they showed, it was so interesting. Have you guys played any of the other Mass Effects?
I have not, so I'm totally.
Yeah, I'm totally.
You'll have
new.
to guide us through this
I
one.
played-
What are your thoughts on
I
this?
played some
yeah, whoever's
shit
played.
I
Hydro.
played some of Mass Effect 1 and the demo for 3.
Okay.
Cool.
So what I could like see from the gameplay of Andromeda was that instead of going for like this kind of just like go around shoot, kind of like use your abilities kind of game, it seemed like the character was going around like gathering resources from like plants and stuff around. So it feels more like and like I'm gonna say this, but like No Man's Sky, kind of like, oh, go to a planet, gather some resources, go back to your ship, head back up, go to another planet. That's what I got from the gameplay. Is what it seemed like.
That seems like the new generation of games are going. The free roams are going to that. Are going to the gather resources to make different items and gathering plants and finding out about new things. But it is definitely appealing to the audience, and it's kind of just wagering its money there, because most of them are like, hey, everyone's kind of just doing this thing, so let's kind of just throw it in there because it's like a new mechanic everyone's using, so let's kind of just throw it in there anyways, because it kind of brings out more what is it, immersion maybe.
Yeah, but it does run the risk of becoming this, okay, gotta go to this planet, like the checklist, okay, I gotta collect this, gotta
I
collect
gotta
this.
get 4 of these plants.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it can like become tiring after a while. Like that's what No Man's Sky happened. Like it's just, oh great, go collect resources, get some more fuel, go to the next
Refund
planet, get more
Sky.
resources, get more fuel. Yeah, basically, like that's the risk they run with this. So I mean, I trust them to make a good like game, but it's still that like I don't know.
But I feel like it was just a minute thing, depending, because all the new stuff that they've been showing is pretty amazing.
yeah,
Like the using the camera to find evidence inside the building where someone died and all that other cool stuff. And then also you have the communication, and they're still not even they're not through. This isn't that wasn't their final product on that trailer,
yeah. Still very hopeful that it'll be a good game.
which was thankful because the face rigs weren't that great. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
so wasn't. Oh, sorry. Well,
but it looks
Wasn't-
amazing.
one of the Mass Effect games, you would go down to planets, right? And you would collect resources. Or is that?
They're more like, I mean, you did like, you could travel around, you'd go to different planets, and like you could, it's kind of like you made your own story. Like you go to this planet, or you could go to this one, or you could go to this one. Which one do you want to go to? And you'd like select, okay, I'll go to this one. So you do that story part first, and then you go to the next one. And that was kind of what you did, but it was very very story driven. It wasn't so much like open, you can go and collect anything. And that's what I was getting from the gameplay. It seemed more focused on gathering rather than story. But I mean, I don't know. Who knows?
Man.
Yeah, I mean, with No Man's Skies, I feel like I think with No Man's Sky, I don't think the main problem was just the resource collection. I think that was sort of like that can be done if it's done well, and I
Yeah.
mean I think that can be an okay part of a game. I think it was just because that was the only thing you were doing in No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Was just, oh, I'm gathering resources, oh, I gotta fly to another planet, oh, it's boring. With Mass Effect Andromeda, I feel like there's gonna be more quests, and like you can be with a group of people, so it's actually gonna be multiplayer. And
Mhm.
you know, I feel like it's a little bit different. But I agree, definitely, you run the risk of basically just having a game where it's sort of like mobile games where, oh, just you're gonna play until you get the highest tier thing, and it's just gonna be the same thing over and over and over and over and over again until you're done playing.
Yeah. It's I trust in BioWare. I think they'll make a good game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
BioWare is usually pretty good, so
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I feel like the nice that it's running off the DICE engine, and also
Oh yeah.
not it's like totally different from what I just said, but the cinematic trailer that showed you the story really drove me into it, because it was just, man, it was like so cool and so much like action. The music just fit perfectly, and then like the bad guy, you know what the bad guy is, because he's got that raspy voice, and he's like, I'm edgy, I'm an edgelord, and then it's like, oh dang, he's edgy. It's like, I know what you are. Now I know how you work. And then he's like, and then it's like, whoa.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That was a very good trailer, and I don't usually get hyped with trailers, but like that was like, I was like, wow, I could get into this. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was like trying to do the 30% off thing, because they were like 30% off the whole store, and then it wasn't, and I was like, oh, come on, man. Because I tried to pre-order Andromeda 30% off, and then I was like, oh, darn tootin'.
Yeah, the Frostbite engine, it definitely gives them a lot of like
leadway.
Yeah, they can do a lot with that. So I'm really hoping to see like really high fidelity, some like facial, what would you call it? Facial textures, I guess, face textures.
Because
Materials.
Battlefield 4, man, those face textures in the campaign.
Battlefield 1 looks great as well. The like, not the floor, the ground like textures look great, like the little rocks and everything. Whoever designed that like looks great.
The Roccos.
Yeah, the rocks and dirt looks good.
10 out of 10. Rocks and dirt look good.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if they're going to have the physics breaks like Battlefield games.
That's yeah, they could definitely implement some kind of.
Seems like they had some
Destructible.
textures, and the sounds for everything were amazing. Just like
Oh, yeah.
the shield bubble, when you put it up, it was like, and it was like, it actually sounded like everything was kind of muffled and like it had that electronic force. It was weird because they just totally matched the way that shield would sound in your brain. Like how bullets hit an energy shield. Like, boop, 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 boop.
Wait, are you guys talking about
That was
DICE
a good
or
part of Battlefront.
DICE as a studio, like Battlefield 1, and their
Yeah, comparing, like,
what you can do with
Andromeda
the Frostbite engine.
yeah, I say what you will about DICE. I feel like I think the Frostbite engine is definitely one of the best, and I feel like especially I played the Battlefield 1 beta. I didn't buy it just because wasn't that interested in it. But like the gun sounds, like, and how all the sounds felt when you were like, especially when you were wearing headphones, like you can feel when they shoot a bullet and it goes past one ear, it'll go past that one ear, and it like feels like it's louder in the right ear. I mean, they've done some really cool stuff with that, so I definitely agree. It'll be cool, like, to see that utilized.
Yeah, if DICE can share some of their like audio, like design knowledge with BioWare, and like put that, like the Star Wars effects that they had in Battlefront was just amazing. And if
Yeah.
they can do that with Mass Effect, it would be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool, actually. Definitely.
There's a lot of things open.
Mhm.
So Mass
Definitely.
Effect Andromeda looked pretty good, but for a game that I didn't think looked too good, Prey. What do you guys think of Prey?
I'm interested.
I mean,
Isn't Prey the one where you're the
Turn
bad
into a cup.
yeah.
a cup?
Turn into a cup. Yeah, you can turn into a cup. It's the game where you can turn into a cup. Prey.
Mhm.
So, oh wow, it's so cool. I mean, it'll be. I'm not interested. I feel okay.
But you can turn
like,
into a cup.
exactly right. Oh, 10 out of 10. You can turn into a cup. My review.
11 out of
like,
10.
I don't know, because I'm not into horror games that much. I feel, but Prey, it's fairly interesting. Like, if you're able to do all the things that were shown in the trailer, which would that would be kind of awesome. Like being able to go, I guess turn into a cup. I don't know. It's really interesting. I don't know a ton about it, and like
I don't even
the
think I gotta
trailer
see
was
it.
a little vague. But
To me, when I was watching it, it looked very clunky to me. It didn't seem very smooth with what they were doing, and so I don't know. It kind of turned me off. Like the cinematic that they showed at E3 looked amazing, but like looking at this gameplay, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be that good.
yeah, I
You
mean,
think it's gonna uphold
definitely.
its value?
Mm-hmm.
It's a horror game.
Yeah, it's like a psychological horror game, something like that.
I don't get really much from you guys telling me that you can change into a cup in a horror because I didn't see it because I was at work.
Hunter, that's all you need to know. You can change it to a cup. That's it. No more. Let's
I'm kidding. There was also this mechanic they showed where like he painted a wall and like it created a platform.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a lot of cool ideas for puzzling like that you could do with that, but from what they showed gameplay wise, it just looked clunky and weird to work with.
I'm also wondering
I am
if
a cup.
they
Blue's
probably have to
Clues,
limit
the
it to
game.
areas too, because I'm trying to imagine all of the breaking that the game could go through
Oh yeah.
when. Oh,
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it'll be a situation like Portal where you can
Put it on
you
certain
can only shoot
surfaces.
portals on certain color surfaces.
That would
Yeah,
make
like I
sense,
mean
yeah.
that's the
Yeah,
easiest.
yeah,
way
that's
to
what
do
I
it.
meant.
I mean, if they're gonna give you complete control, that's kind of insane. But like, I feel like it's gonna be more like you can only paint on things that have a gray surface, and then it's just gonna be kind of with that. It's like you want to give people freedom, and this is one of the problems with Portal. It's like you can go pretty much everywhere, and I think Portal does it really well. But other games that have tried like to give you freedom, like with those sort of game mechanics where like you can, I don't know, paint a wall, or you can put goo on this thing that makes you bounce, like, but it can only be on this colored tile. You can end up feeling locked in where it's like, oh boy, there's only one gray wall here, I guess I'm gonna use my paintbrush on that, paint a doorway, go through it. Oh, look, here's the part where I have to turn into a cup. You can get into it where it's kind of almost like a gimmick, and it like
Yeah,
doesn't
and
really...
it only works in very specific areas.
And then the rest of the time you're just walking around and it's boring, and it's like, oh, gimmick time, you can turn into a cup.
Yeah.
Woo! So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. Yeah, it did. I agree. It did look a little clunky to me as well. But Prey, it'll be interesting. If anything, I think it'll be something that people will look back on, like as in something in design where they can go, okay, this is sort of what they were going for, and then they can kind of improve on that idea. That's my thought.
Yeah. I'm still hyped for more of the games that weren't shown at the Game Awards, like the new Resident Evil and stuff. I don't know, was it shown?
Oh yeah, but no, it wasn't.
No,
it
Resident
wasn't
Evil.
shown.
It wasn't, because if it was, I missed it.
It was shown at PSX like 2 days later or something. Like they showed more of it.
Oh yeah, because that's their thing. They're
And
the one's going to get on VR first.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be amazing. I
Yeah.
feel like it's going to be cool.
And especially in VR, I feel like
It's going to be
it'll be kind
intense.
Yeah,
Mhm.
horror is so much more like it's amplified in VR by like 100. It's so
It's-
much more intense.
It's like already intense for me, at least, playing
Yeah.
it just on the computer. But like in VR, you'd be like, oh boy. This is kind of like how you said when you were playing playing the Vive on Subnautica, and you're afraid to go under the water because everything seems so much bigger,
Mhm.
and it's the realism that gets you.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
You
when
get
I played the
immersed.
Vive,
The
your
movement.
Vive, Danan, it was kind of crazy because like that game wasn't technically a scary game, and if I was playing that robot game like just with my normal computer screen, I would have been like, oh, it's boring. But like
Yeah.
everything was it's so much more heightened. It's almost
Mhm.
like especially with a game like Resident Evil, it's gonna be pretty spooky. I'll be
yeah.
honest.
And especially now that they're it looks like they're moving back from action like horror. They're like going straight up like just horror, which is like what the old Resident Evils weren't like super horror like this
Well,
one seems to be.
Yeah, my brother I walked out this morning and he's playing Resident Evil 1, the remastered one, and it was like, I really like the way it looks. It's like actually super beautiful.
Oh,
Like the
nice.
remastered one is just, whoa. Like I was super impressed on how beautiful it was. And it's definitely the horror scheme of it is amazing. It was just a little frustrating because I was there with my brother. I was sitting on the couch, just sitting there chilling with him, and we were trying to find the freaking emblems for certain things, but you can't find them, and it's like,
Right. And isn't I read, and I read an article and it was saying that Resident Evil, it's looking like it's sort of emulating Amnesia, right? Where
Yeah,
that's sort of the more of the gameplay style.
A little bit. I feel like a little bit more of an Outlast feel than an Amnesia.
Outlast. I haven't played either of the. Have you guys played any of those?
Yeah, but I just watch those. I don't play them. But I think I played a little bit of Outlast, and I kind of just stopped. Because I already watched the story. I just wanted to play it to see how it felt, and then didn't feel very good. It's like, oh, I'm spooked.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it
definitely.
Looks like there might be weapons, though, in this one, from what I've seen from gameplay trailers.
Yeah.
So not entirely, you can't do anything.
Cool.
Yeah, watching the... That's the one thing about horror games when you can't do anything. It's just, ooh. Because, there's going to spook you, so you're going to have to run or something, because you can't do anything.
Yeah, you gotta hide.
But, like, the Resident Evil games, like Resident Evil 1, you could shoot things and kill them, which was nice. Because you'd be like, and then kill them.
Resident Evil 1 and 2 were... They had like this. The only problem I had with them were their controls. They were very like stiff. You basically moved like a tank in the Resident Evil games, in the first ones, anyways. And they kind of like moved on from that when they got to 3 and 4. I guess
those camera angles, though.
Yeah, the camera angles didn't help very much either.
When you're walking and then it switch.
Yeah.
But at least it gives like I think it's pretty cool mechanic. I like the way that those feel, the way they play in the camera angles, instead of being just a third person.
Yeah, it's like there's a camera in the house, like, watching you.
Just like cameras everywhere watching you when you go places. But it's pretty cool that way, I feel. Like, I like that kind of style. Because you don't really see it. You don't see that kind of style anymore in today's games, at least. It's always third person or first person. Like Evil Within, it's just a third person game.
Yeah, Evil Within, that was an interesting game.
Very interesting game.
I never beat it. I got like halfway through, but that was it. Like after a bit. Yeah.
But yeah, you don't see that camera angle thing anymore in the games nowadays. So
yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing or bad. It'd be interesting to see a new game try it and see what happens. Let me see what people think.
I feel like Resident Evil could do that, but the new first person's going to be pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, it's a place we've never really seen a Resident Evil game go.
But then we have I think Resident Evil 4 was third person, right?
Yeah, 4 was third person, 5 was, and then 6, I think you could like go into first person to aim, something like that. I think.
For what one?
Yeah, 6 was. Sorry.
No, for what game, Dan? For Resident Evil 6?
Yeah, you could couldn't you go into first person after you aimed or something like? Was that?
I don't think so.
I thought okay.
I never played it, but I don't think so. I've seen people play it, and I never saw them go into first person.
Okay, maybe that was another horror game I'm thinking of.
Oh, that's the game that I trialed, Resident Evil 6, where you beat the salami guy. Yep. Giant.
You cannot, Danan. Not in Resident Evil 6, at least.
That's some other horror game, probably.
No, and that's interesting with horror, especially when you're given a weapon. Like, because you can walk a fine line of either when you don't have any weapons, or and then when you do have weapons, it can kind of be like, well, when I don't have weapons, it's scary at first, but then after a while you're like, well, I don't have any weapons, so I don't even care, because all this is run and hide.
Yeah.
And then if you have weapons, it's like, well, I'm not scared of anything. So I feel like there's that sweet middle ground that you have to like go through, where it's like, give them enough control, but also not enough to where it'll be boring, but you also don't want to take away everything to where they feel like, well, I can't do anything about this, so I'm not even scared anymore, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that it depends on there's definitely a balance that you have to go through. So
yeah, definitely.
Like Resident Evil 1 did a good job with that, and they only gave you a little bit of ammo. Well, they gave you a medium amount of ammo, a decent amount, but you had to make sure, you had to be careful. And like near the end of the game, they gave you these matches, and you would like throw them on enemies so that they would burn and they wouldn't come back alive. Like that was an interesting concept, and it was like, you gotta be careful. You gotta use too many. You gotta be careful with your ammo. And then you get like 6 where they give you like 13 different guns that you can use, and it's completely different.
Yeah, that's what I was telling my brother while he's playing. I was like, you better be careful on using that ammo, boy. You only got 15 shots, and that's all you got. It's like, yeah, true. And
Yeah,
then
I mean,
I
I
just
feel
love,
like
I just love the aspect of the horror games. I feel like Outlast was definitely one of my favorite stories to watch, but I also I just like the horror genre. But yeah, definitely the Resident Evil. I love the not too many jump scares. It's more of just an eerie creaking, kind of like waiting for something bad to happen. Oh boy, when's it gonna happen?
Yeah.
It's so cool. Love it.
yeah, for sure. I mean, so I feel like the Game Awards was a bit of a failure in my mind, but I feel like I don't know, because I feel like it's just like a second E3. So I don't know. It's interesting.
From all the releases.
It's interesting to see how there's some very good parts, and there's some good information, but also sometimes they just show too many trailers, and it's just not as informative enough. It's like, oh, I don't know. It was interesting, but we definitely saw some cool trailers, and I'm excited to see where those games are gonna go and how they're gonna change. I think the big standout for me was probably Death Stranding, just because it looked really weird, really interesting, and I feel like
Memorable.
Kojima finally got like all the creative control he could have. So I don't know, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so we can talk about our game of the year because it's getting to the end of the year. I mean, I didn't play too many games this year, but why don't we start, Hunter? What is your game of the year?
Game of the year based
And
on
why? Whatever, just however much you played it, like why you liked it. It can be anything. It's it's totally subjective.
I feel like I forgot when Rocket League came out,
2014, I think.
but it was a while.
2014?
Maybe 2015. July 7th, 2015.
If I was gonna go for game of this year, was let's see here. It's really hard for me to actually say which one. Like if I was basing it on this year, and if I couldn't choose Rocket League, because I'd choose Rocket League just because of its overall just a great game in my mindset,
Right?
And it's just a mind-battling game, is all it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I also did really like a lot of games. You know, Dark Souls 3, Titanfall 2, Overwatch, definitely Overwatch. Enter the Gungeon.
Enter the Gungeon was really good.
So yeah, why don't you just list the games that came out this year that you played, and then pick like a favorite, and just say why. I mean, this doesn't have to be concrete, but just like pick, one of the reasons you really liked a game, or why a game kind of spoke to you. I don't know.
So we have Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. We have Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley.
Oof.
Then we also have what is it? I played Grand Theft Auto 5, but I didn't really get into it. I didn't get into it that much. We also have H1Z1 King of the Kill. We played that a while. We have Doom, the Doom remake.
Oh, Doom was so good.
Doom was pretty great. We also have what is it? What games did I play? I didn't really kind of like focused on Overwatch and other stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
Overwatch, yeah.
I mean, it's whatever you played and like why. So just you don't have to.
Game of 2015 would be Rocket League,
right?
But
right.
game of this year,
so it's not Rocket League. Pick a different one.
Yeah.
Game of this year for me would probably be. Oh God. It's a pretty hard decision. Like, there's a few good games, but there's like a lot of bad games.
Yeah, I mean, there was more bad games than good games this year. It was kind of I think this was a terrible year for video games in general. I didn't I think lots of them bombed. Mafia 3 is terrible. I mean, especially recently, just so many
a bunch of games came out recently.
Yeah, I suppose.
Call of Duty is 50% lower than, wasn't it it lost 50% sales from last?
Don't get me
release?
started. Yeah, Call of Duty is. I mean, I think we're finally seeing the end of that kind of
the franchise.
Yeah.
That sort of franchise where they're just going to pump out a game every year. I think we're slowly.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, especially with Assassin's Creed and stuff like that. How
But
Ubisoft ended.
But yeah, I think I'd have to go with. Jeez, I have a lot of games that I like. It's just so hard.
All right.
Just say it.
Yeah, Overwatch. Yeah,
Because you just played that a lot? Sure.
yeah, basically.
All right. So, Danan, what's your game of the year? What games did you play, and what's your game of the year?
I definitely played Overwatch a lot. It's a very, it's a pretty good game. Definitely a little bit ragey in it.
Yes.
But
The salt flows.
yeah. But I was just reminded of Doom, which is, it's
Doom.
such a good game. And Doom, I think Doom is my game of the year because
Okay.
when you play Doom, you you can see that the developers clearly knew where like Doom should be, where like Doom was like back in the day, what made it so fantastic. And when you play it, you can see, yes, this is Doom. This is what Doom should be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so. And I know the multiplayer kind of like some people liked it, some people didn't. I thought it was pretty fun for just like something to play. But the single player I feel is definitely where Doom is at. And they released like free content for Snap Map. You can create your own maps. That's super fun to do. And so yeah, I think Doom, definitely Doom.
Yeah, I think Doom's solid. I love the
soundtrack.
soundtrack, even though I didn't really play a ton of it. The soundtrack is awesome.
Sound design is amazing.
And I love just the character and how much of it, like, he just does not care at all. And he just, like,
story does
that
so
opening
well.
scene that I've watched, I don't remember where, but where he's just, like, they're telling him about everything that happened. He just rips the monitor off because he doesn't care. And he's just going to go and kill a bunch of demons. And it's just like, oh, it's good. Yeah, so Doom's definitely
that was
perfect.
definitely. Yeah, some of my hard fight was Doom, and Overwatch is like, it was really cool because he's such a bad A, and there's like a story in the other one, but Overwatch also they have their cinematic trailers that they output that really push
the
story.
characters are so
Definitely.
good.
Overwatch, I mean, that's definitely hard. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It'll be hard for me. So, Carter, what games did you play this year, and what's your game of the year?
What games I've been playing recently? Fallout 4, which I'm just everyone.
Right?
Yeah.
That came out this year.
Everyone's been playing.
Or did that come out
That
last
came out
that
last
year? Yeah.
Rocket League. I've been playing a lot of Binding of Isaac. I played a ton of.
Oh, Binding of Isaac's so good.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could say Binding of Isaac because of the DLC. Yeah.
But game of the year, that's got to be Overwatch.
Overwatch?
I like competitive games more. So like the actual like 6v6 competitive. And despite it having some issues with balance, but its ranking system is good and bad. Like I'm better than Danan, but apparently stats wise, even though whatever. But no.
Nice one.
It keeps.
You gotta be like, oh, I'm better than you. You know, we got him.
But when you think of the competitive scene, how much time they put into it, the fact that they're still releasing new characters, they throw out hotfix patches like whenever there's an issue.
Yeah.
Competitively, it is the game of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah, sure. That's fair. So.
Oh yeah. So Aaron, it's your turn.
Yeah, boy.
What's your?
Okay, so let's think. So the games I played this year, I know Don't Starve Together came out of beta, and I played some of that this year. Total War Rome 2, I played a lot of that this year. Did that come out this year or did that come out last year? That might have come out last year.
Last year, I think. Warhammer.
Played Stardew Valley, of course. I played Overwatch as well. I played a lot of Heroes of the Storm and Hearthstone. I feel like that's pretty much. I played Paragon. Let's see. I'm trying to think. What other games did I play this year? I mean, I feel like that's just about it. I mean, I did play a lot of Skyrim, but that came out.
You played Unturned.
I did play some Unturned, sure. But for me, I really have to say, I'm pretty sure you guys already know, I'm gonna say Stardew Valley is my game of the year.
Well, it's I was actually kind of depicting on that because it actually is a very, very good game.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely
Very
one
well
of those
done.
games where not everyone's gonna like it, and a lot of people find it very boring.
It's like an art.
Which is definitely, that's a fair criticism. I mean, if that game it doesn't appeal to you, you're not gonna like it at all. If you don't like farming and doing a daily routine, you're not gonna like it at all. But I really enjoyed it. I really like the world, all of the characters that you get to interact with. It's really fun. It's really fun to build your farm from a terrible plot of garbage land, and you just get to go in and you get to build pretty much build up your farm, and it makes it look really nice. So And I
Build
put
up
it's the
your
game I put the most hours in. I think I have like 130 hours in already.
relationship goals.
So yeah, exactly, relationship goals. So yeah, for that reason, exactly. I mean, I did. There's a new the patch came out where you can just basically change their minds where you can divorce them without them knowing, and it's pretty evil.
Oh.
It's pretty evil.
Without
Yeah,
them
yeah.
knowing.
And you can also turn your kids into pigeons if you don't want them around anymore. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
roasted.
New update. You get if you like. There's these 3 little statues that you can give like a sacrifice to. Ooh, it's pretty edgy.
That's pretty good.
All right then.
Can't wait to turn my children
Yeah,
into pigeons.
Game of the year, 10 out of 10. You can turn your kids into doves. It's great.
I don't know if it's as good as turning into a cup, but
True.
True.
That'll. Who knows? Maybe next year I'll be like, hey, you gotta turn into a cup. Game of the year.
Yeah, game of the year.
I feel
All
like
right.
there's so many games that we didn't play that were
I know.
out this
I
year,
feel
like
pretty
Quantum
terrible.
Break
I played
and
like
stuff.
no games. I played.
I just didn't feel like putting the money into
Gears
them.
4 was so
Mhm.
good as well. Ah, frick.
Oh
there's
yeah,
so many
you played
games.
Gears of War 4. I mean,
Oh,
we'll definitely
shoot.
we'll have more topics. We'll have more topics for.
Yeah.
I forgot
Other
to give you.
podcasts.
Yeah, I forgot to give you my tab on my energy drink for Gears of War loot.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
dang, could have gotten double XP.
I could have stolen all the tabs. There was like 24.
Yeah, jeez,
Oh
come
my
on, Hunter,
gosh.
falling
Give me
down on the
hookup,
job.
Hunter.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'll try to steal them if they're laying around still.
Okay.
Sure.
And I'll give them to you and Alex. It's all good.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
But yeah, I think that's what
I feel like
we're gonna
that
end
just
it today.
about does it for us.
This, the first podcast ever.
First podcast, yeah. First
Never, the genre has just been
preliminary, the
invented.
premiere episode. Yeah, Carter, you barely talk.
Yeah, I know, right?
Step up your game. No, it's fine. It's fine.
It's all
More
good.
when we'll move in other topics. You know, you can. It's
Yeah.
great. It's great. So
So,
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for taking part in watching our first YouTuber vlog. I don't know. YouTube vlogs. Ooh.
YouTube. Oh boy.
I mean, it's just
Ah.
it's just a
Vlog? This is our
podcast.
vlog.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our
Actually,
it's our vlog.
This is- I'm
Welcome
Casey
to Lobby
Neistat.
Vlog.
Hillary Clinton. I'll be
Lobby
voting.
vlog.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for joining us for Lobby Talk. I hope to see you next time. And I guess peace out. Everyone want to we're gonna
See
put
you
everyone's stuff in the end
Sure.
part.
Yeah, you can find us on the description. I have a YouTube channel that I've uploaded 2 videos to. Please don't check it
Check
out.
it out.
Probably won't put it in the description. Okay.
I uploaded one video. Check me out,
Hey,
fam.
one video. That's pretty good.
You can
Alright,
find
well-
famous YouTuber Mega Danan at youtube.com/MegaDanan97.
Yeah. That's true. That is true.
videos. They're so good.
They're
Oh,
so
wow.
quality. Oh boy.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man boy.
Spider-Man. Oh,
1,000 views in county.
yeah.
So good. So good. All right.
Oh, I guess it's
All right, you guys can stop your recordings.